Yeah, and welcome back to another Miraculous Ladybug video. And recently, I've been seeing a lot of hate towards the character of Alya, specifically towards her abilities and her quality as a friend. And when I say there's been some hate, I mean there's been a lot of hate, which, yeah, it took me a bit by surprise. I don't know why, but I kind of just assumed she'd be a very popular character, but, well, yeah, maybe she is a popular character, but at the same time, on the other side of the coin, it's clear that there's a lot of vocal criticism. So yeah, I guess that's really the main topic of our discussion today. Is Alya just a truly terrible friend? Is she the worst? Or are people really just blowing this storyline a bit out of proportion? And yeah, before we go any further, just a quick reminder, this is all for fun. So let's not get too salty down there in the comment section, okay? Although, I will admit, I do get a little bit of sick pleasure when I see people taking this a little bit more seriously than I think the writers intended them to. I know, I shouldn't revel in the toxicity, but it does get quite funny at times. And so yeah, no time like the present, let's do it. Okay, so I think first things first, we gotta set the scene and explain why people are angry about Alya and the actions her character's undertaken, particularly this season, but also tracing back through a number of other seasons. And the spark of this round of outrage was in the most recent episode to release, or the recent set of episodes, where it was, at long last, discovered that Lila was in fact a snake of a person. She was a compulsive liar, with a massive manipulative streak. A person who reveled in her cruelty, and who was attempting to ruin the lives of her entire class, simply so that Marinette would get in trouble and lose her friends. Yeah, so a pretty awful person. But since Marinette was able to figure out that Lila was full of it from literally day one, and had also shouted it from the rooftops to her friends that entire time, the idea is, from the fanbase at least, that Alya should have had her back in this regard and supported and believed her from the get-go, which is not something she did in canon. Right from the start, Alya would try to act as the voice of reason and shoot down all of Marinette's conspiracy theories about Lila and how she's manipulating everybody around her to her own advantage. And this wasn't a one-off occurrence. She very frequently shot down Marinette's idea, and more often than not would not take her side, or at least she thought that Marinette had simply misinterpreted what Lila was saying or doing. And in the end, it's revealed that Marinette is very much on the money, and yet despite that had been left alone with nearly no allies with this person who was quite literally out to ruin her life completely. The only teammate she had in this regard was Adrian, and not boyfriend Adrian, but back when they were back in their, oh no, she's just a very good friend phase. And also, I swear I get PTSD flashbacks from that phrase.
She's a very good friend.
Getting some cold sweats. Truly the dark days of the show. So yeah, fringe friend Adrian, because let's be real, she was way closer with the majority of the girls in the class than she was with Adrian before they started dating. And so this fringe friend, this sort of friend, was able to completely trust Marinette and see through Lila's bullshit quite quickly, whilst her supposed best friend is completely under Lila's spell. Not looking good for you right now, Alya. Although, in fairness, I do kind of think the whole plot point, it feels very forced in hindsight. Because let's be real, Lila's lies are very sus. They're very obvious. And so every character who ends up believing them kind of needs to be written out of character to make it work. The writing forces the characters to behave more stupidly than they normally would in the regular script. Seriously, switch the character name with the exact same script and delivery from Lila to Chloe or even Sabrina, and instead of just supporting Lila, all the characters would say, oh yeah, that is bullshit, Marinette would never do that. But then suddenly this random character, who they don't even know very well at all, comes along and they're all a bunch of gibbering, drooling buffoons. And so yeah, I wouldn't say it's very consistent writing, but let's move on, because like I said, bad writing or not, it is canon. That's how the story plays out, like it or lump it. And then on top of that, the haters feel that Alya should have apologized to Marinette for being completely and utterly wrong about Lila's personality, but she doesn't. I did read somewhere though that they had originally written a scene or something that actually addressed this, but for some reason it got cut out. I don't know if that's actually true or if it's just a rumor that's cropped out of nowhere, but I think I saw it on Twitter. But if it's true, damn, that's a cut that probably should not have happened, at all. I mean, come on, there's such a key payoff to a storyline that's been running since Lila's first appearance pretty much, and they just don't wrap it up properly. Really not sure about that creative decision, but oh well. I'm not the editor, I'm not the showrunner, I don't get to make the decisions. But as we said earlier, I think the main problem that people had here is that she completely disregards all of Marinette's opinions about Lila, and is seemingly willing to see the worst in Marinette on a moment's notice, despite the fact that a lot of Lila's lies are easily verified to be false, and that Marinette is literally her best friend. So yeah, like I said, it's not looking good for Alya here. But in my eyes, it actually gets worse before it gets better, because she then goes and doubles down, even after Adrian who's surely by this point proven that he's the least confrontational, least likely to talk shit kind of person in the entire world. If even he doesn't like somebody, then I think that acts as a sort of smoking gun in a way. Because if the nicest, most wholesome dude in the world thinks you are full of shit, in all likelihood, you must be indeed full of shit. But it even gets worse than this. Because remember, in season 4, Marinette finally confesses to Alya that she's Ladybug, and she helps Alya fake her renouncing of the fox, keeping her a secret recon sidekick. And the two of them spend much of that season kicking some significant ass. The only rub being, of course, that she needs to keep all of this a secret, completely. After all, it puts them all at risk. If she's a secret, they still have a weapon to use against, at that time I think he was called Shadow Moth. A weapon that he doesn't know about. But if it's known that Alya is still using the Miraculous and still has it with her, there is a very good chance that she can be hunted and targeted by Shadow Moth in ways designed to get Ladybug to give up her Miraculous to save her friend. And even then, surely by that point it would not be hard to piece together some potential Ladybug identities if Shadow Moth found out that Alya still had it. Because to hand out the Fox Miraculous to this same person every so often, that's one thing. To give it out permanently, that's another thing. But it's a whole different ballpark when it becomes clear that Ladybug is still letting her use it even after her identity was discovered, stubbornly persisting with Rena as a sidekick, which means that there has to be so much trust, significant trust. And so from that, anybody with half a brain, so realistically not Monarch, should be able to hypothesize that it's probably one of Alya's close friends, and who's her closest friend? Like, why didn't you just ask Adrian? Oh, what do you know? It's Marinette. And then you can make one of those Optigami Senti-monsters, because at this time he still had the peacock, and you can discover who she is. And you can discover if you are right by following her around at all times. Or what do you know? You win. Woo! I should be Monarch. I would win. But anyway, luckily for the heroes, he ended up giving up the peacock immediately after discovering Alya still had the fox. But, maybe it wouldn't have worked out for him anyway. After all, he somehow bungled using the rabbit Miraculous. Should have been a home run. He had time travel powers, but he failed anyway. What a dweeb. A smooth-brained cretin, but back on topic. I mean, God, it's so easy to get bogged down and get sidetracked here. Anyway, Alya. Stay on topic, smarty pants. Stay on topic. So yes, I think I've just shown that it was a potential game over scenario if Gabe discovered Alya still had her Miraculous, and thus, it makes sense to keep it under wraps completely, right? Right? Alya should not tell anyone except for Marinette. Well, guess what? Alya tells Nino that she still has it, which in turn works its way back to Gabe in the heat of battle. And luckily enough, Gabe wins, and he gets all the side character Miraculouses after the battle, so he doesn't bother to pursue that line of inquiry any further. But an actual competent villain would be able to use this proof to show that Ladybug has to be someone really close to Alya. And if they'd simply beaten him this time around, as in they just defeat Strikeback and he goes back and hides in his cave again and weeps over his wife's corpse, there's a good chance that Gabe would not get distracted from Alya and Ladybug. And I think it could have all gone to shit pretty rapidly, simply because Alya can't keep a simple, life-threatening secret from her boyfriend. And it's not like it's a long-term boyfriend either. The timeline is so compressed that it's pretty clear that by this point they've only been dating for a few months at best. I feel like keeping your superhero alter ego a secret from a teenage romance feels like the smarter, more responsible play. I mean, how can you be that stupid and inefficient? Alya, your brain. It's smooth. And so, yeah, it's looking pretty bad here. You can't really wipe away the secret identity stuff. It's just so stupidly irresponsible that it makes your head spin. Come on, kid, be better than this. I'm begging you, please, get a grip. But that being said, at the same time, whilst you can condemn her for that and for being a complete idiot and betraying her friend's trust completely, on the other side of the coin, I also can't blame her for not being 100% Team Marinette in the Lila debacle. Because yes, in the end she was wrong. But what if she hadn't been? Because look at it like this. Despite the fact that Lila is an obvious liar to the audience, and thus common sense would dictate that people should quite easily see through her lies, they don't. And to me, this implies that you need to suspend your disbelief, think in terms of the characters in the show, and realize that in universe, she's actually far more convincing in whatever she's saying. We always see her look to the camera and wink and smirk kind of deal. The characters don't see that. That's stylized. So already, I'm feeling a bit more lenient towards Alya in that regard. But on top of that, remember who her best friend is? Marinette, the Stalker Supreme. Imagine being Alya, you turn up, you're brand new at school, you don't know anybody. And then you meet this girl, she sits next to you in class, and now you're next to her for the rest of the year. She seems cool, right? She becomes your best friend pretty quick. And pretty soon, she reveals she is obsessed with this other new guy, fully obsessed. and you think, oh, maybe it's a crush. Until she unveils that she has a schedule of his life hidden away. She has photos of him cut out and stuck on her walls. She has a collage of him as her computer background. She makes plot after plot after plot to try and get his attention. She has presents for all occasions bought for the dude and pre-wrapped. She always sighs his name creepily in conversation. Adrian! And so pretty much she's down bad for this dude, but in an unhealthy, super creepy way. At the same time, you notice that she hates Chloe, another classmate, who admittedly is a bit of a bitch, and it's clear that they have a bit of a feud and pre-existing beef with one another. But when Chloe interacts with Adrian, Marinette goes nuts. But hey, you're gonna chalk that up to her hating Chloe. You can move past that. But then a similar scenario keeps playing out with Kagami. She ends up feeling guilty about it, don't get me wrong, but she does originally go through with trying to sabotage her at one point and even teams up with Chloe briefly. What the hell? At other points in time, she also tries to infiltrate this dude's house to go to a party and just does so much weird shit. Like, I don't have time to go through it all, but there's some really weird stuff that if it happened in real life, you'd be very afraid. And I mean, in the show, Alya and the girls and Tiki all acknowledge how weird Marinette can be about all of this. How sad it is. And so now, you, as Alya, when you come up against Lila, who seems nice and perfect and sweet and good, and then she accuses your friend, who you know has a bit of a weird streak and who you know for a fact is completely unable to be rational in regards to this dude, of doing something weird, and then said friend who's been accused starts ranting about this seemingly nice person, talking about how she's this prime manipulator trying to steal Adrian away. Like, yeah, honestly, if you look at that through a realistic lens, I think everyone will be a bit skeptical about Marinette's claims. Like, come on now. Imagine being friends with her from Alya's perspective. It's the plot of a horror film. A psychological horror where she slowly sees her friend go insane and get more and more extreme trying to get this dude's attention. Just look at the stuff she does throughout the first, 4 seasons, hell, even in season 5. But just ignore that it's supposed to be played for laughs. And suddenly, it's weird, and Alya's probably thinking, oh, damn, my best friend's a freak, hey? And so, is it really any wonder that she and the rest of the class and the teachers get taken in by Lila's lies? I don't think so. And hell, you can even explain away her not believing Adrian as her not thinking that Adrian would even have the full story to begin with. As it's not like you'd assume that Marinette would expose Adrian to the full range of her crazy, would she? I mean, who would do that? So yeah, let's calm down, Alya haters. She ain't perfect, but the recent slew of Alya is a bad friend posts and videos and comments and all that, I think they've missed the mark quite a lot, at least in my eyes. And so yeah, with all that being said, that's the end of the video. And I would like to remind you that these are just my opinions and I'd like to hear yours. What do you think about this? You agree with me? Maybe you disagree. I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe and let me know.